Returning to our lead story of the crowning of the Zulu King Musa Xulu, the urgent court application to stop the coronation has failed, with the Pietermaritzburg High Court saying there's no urgency in the matter. Professor Musa Xulu from the Heritage Development Trust joins us for some analysis on this element of the story. Professor, thank you so much for your time. So those challenging the legitimacy of the succession and the right of King Musa Xulu to hold the throne of the Zulu nation, according to our senior reporter Siphamandla Goge, will go all the way to the Constitutional Court. Given the setback that they've received today, what room is still open for them to challenge, and where do you think that challenge will head next?
You know, it's a lost cause altogether. It's something that they should be advised not to pursue because it will not go to anywhere. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that the Act, the 2003 Traditional Leadership Governance Act, as well as the 2019 Traditional Leadership and the Khoisan Act, they're very clear. A nation that wants to deal with the issues of succession is required to look at its own customs, cultures, and traditions, and make a submission following its meeting, the meeting of that royal household, to the province, which then takes the matter to Minister of Culture, who then takes the matter to the President. In all of those stages, compliance is checked and double-checked. So the Constitutional Court, I don't know what it can do for them. It cannot replace the fact that King Musa Xulu is born a king. The rituals, the best rituals that were done for him were not done for any other of the children of King Goodwill Zwelithini. At the hospital where he was born, in Kwahlabisa, which is not far from here in Nangoma, he could not be born in a labor ward. So a medical doctor had to vacate the house, his house, so that the house was cleansed and the birth itself took place away from anybody. Nobody was there except the medical staff. It did not happen in a ward. And even at his growing up, this whole thing, you can look at his old pictures, the pictures that were taken when he was 3 years or 5 years in the archives. They say future king of the Zulu nation. Now, all that evidence, and of course, the evidence that is brought about by the Zulu custom that says that wife of a king who is born from another royalty automatically gives birth to the next king. You can't change that. That is African knowledge. I don't know where they say they take their knowledge, because that is African indigenous knowledge, which is where South Africa is today. We take into account the indigenous knowledge of our continent, of our people, so that we use our customs to regulate the affairs of the African people. King Musa Xulu is unshaken, unshakable. The people that came here, all possibly 20,000 were here today, they all know that this is the king. There is no dispute. Those who are trying to think that there's a dispute, I think they're just running a lost cause already. It won't get anywhere for them.
So yesterday, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi said that these continued challenges and the attempted coronation of another contender last week make a mockery of the Zulu nation. But seemingly those who are mounting these challenges have been relatively persistent up until now. Do you think today's proceedings and the support for the new king will shake them and will cause them to leave these challenges behind?
They may not necessarily leave the challenges behind. I will tell you, and maybe I should say this, because they are continuously going to court and so on, is a well-funded machine. Nobody knows at the moment who is funding it, but it's not about, when you look at it from what we are studying ourselves, is that actually it's about the land. the land of AmaZulu, which was became under the Ingonyama Trust in 1994. There could be people operating in the background who are funding these people to sleep in five-star hotels and to go to court all the time. But the good thing is that not only is the Zulu nation behind the king. Today we heard from kings from Congo, kings from Zambia, kings from Malawi, kings from other provinces in South Africa. Everybody is behind the king. And we, the academics and intellectuals, Amakosi, all professionals in Zulu society have formed an organization called Indonsa Yesizwe, which is supporting the kingdom not only of KwaZulu, but also in all other kingdoms in South Africa and beyond. What they are doing, it's them against the rest of the African population, not just the Zulu nation, but the rest of the African kingdom. They're fighting a losing battle. They won't be able to get anywhere with this consistent going to courts and wasting court time on matters that have settled themselves when you follow the customs and the traditions of the Zulu people, of the Zulu nation. I don't know where the information they get it from.
Do you think that the official state coronation, which the date is still to be determined for when that will take place, do you think that is going to be a further deterrent?
Yeah, no, definitely that one is going to take place. And the king was very grateful to the president today, because the president has been consistent that based on the submissions that have arrived in following compliance with all legislation, because that's what you need to do. You don't just go there and talk. The reason there was legislation was to avoid situations where somebody will wake up in the morning and say, I'm a king. You can't do that, because the Khoisan Act, the Traditional Leadership and Khoisan Act, is very clear that if you do that, you're guilty of a crime. Now, regulating through legislation was to avoid all these people who wake up in the morning and look at themselves in the mirror and say, I can be a king of the Zulus. I think the Zulu nation is very clear on that. As I said, the kingdoms at SADC region are very clear about that. The intellectuals, the academics, and everybody is very clear about that. It's only those people. But you can see that there are people that are funding them from behind so that they can just create this chaos. Prince Mangosuthu was correct. They are turning the Zulu nation into a laughing stock. But what happened today, as you saw also on your own screens, it's not going to get anywhere. The Zulu people, have shown all South Africans that they can stand for their cultures and customs, and they are doing this within the law. So I don't know where how far they will go with this, but I can't see them suddenly giving up, because to tell the truth, on our side, some of them tell us that it's not about King Misuzulu. There's very few people who are honestly disputing the kingship of King Misuzulu. There's something else. As the President Nelson Mandela used to say in the past, there could be a hidden hand creating instability deliberately, using the children of the late king as Zwelithini Zulu.
Well, thank you very much for your insights. We are unfortunately going to have to leave it there. That was Professor Musa Xulu from the Heritage Development Trust.